Hello and welcome to this video. We are group 17 for the course Didactics of English, and today we're going to talk about our experiences with pedagogical practice. I am Luna Granados.
My name is Maria Fernanda Romero.
And I am Hernan Rueda.
So I'm going to start with a little bit of my experience. My name is Luna Isabel de Granados, and my observation participant practice was in the educational institution Rodrigo de Bastidas, located in the city of Santa Marta Magdalena. The classes were carried out by the teacher Catalina Trejos Agudelo, and all the fifth grades this school has. All these groups are very diverse with great skills, dynamic, active, participatory, and collaborative. Some groups are characterized by good academic performance and behavior, while others by the contrary. Their ages range from 10 to 13 years old.
Okay, so in my case, I got to start my pedagogical practices in the community language of Lille, la comunidad virtual de lengua, Lille o Lillei. And this is a strategy of the university that support students of the BA in foreign languages to improve their skills in speaking, writing, grammar, reading, and yeah. So they enter to these sessions in a voluntary way, so they are not forced to do this. And in general, they are divided in groups, so it depends on the level. There is basic, intermediate, and advanced. So everyone has like, I think, the right skills for each level.
Okay. All right. So, okay, perfect. So thank you so much for that. Now let me tell you about my experience. I actually was doing that in the Colegio Futurios Sabios, hosted by the Miss Maria Trinidad, where we have a variety of ages when it comes about the children that we worked with. Most of them were around the ages ranges from 3 years old to 6 years old. The oldest that actually we got to were about 7 years old, but those were not very common. We actually don't work with them very much. Their attitude towards the information that was being presented to them was great. Most of them were always volunteering and participating actively during the whole classes, and I think it was just a great experience that we had. That's everything from my side.
Thank you, Hernan. So we're going to start answering the proposed questions. The first one is, did you perceive that the teacher planned every class or she rather improvised in the sessions? Is that planning or improvisation successful or not? Explain why. So I'm going to start. In the sessions I observed, I could perceive that each and every one of the classes of the teacher Catalina were planned. In them, I was able to evidence how her planning is oriented in using the time appropriately in order for her to introduce the topics, explain them, make examples, and evaluate students accordingly. She is indeed well prepared in every aspect to conduct an instruction. This is evident from the planning of the didactic material to its implementation, and the students' successful response to it with their participations and grades.
Okay, thank you, Luna. So I had the opportunity to observe many teachers and in different sessions, as I told you, for writing, grammar, speaking, listening, and they all, it seems like they always follow this specific structure for doing the class, like a pre-task or a warm-up, and the main activity, and finally the practice. Um, So it never seemed to me that they improvised in any way. In fact, they were really prepared for the situation in the session. But if I talk about the assigned teacher that I had in the community, her name is Silvia Leon. I remember that the first assignment that I had from her, she asked me to help her with planning a SIPA. And she told me, just add a lot of resources, many resources as you could, because despite being for an advanced level course, that is the one she is tutoring right now, not everyone in that course has the same level, and in any case, it is better like have some left over for the next class, um, than lack of it. So I think it was very important for her to always be prepared to evaluate the previous knowledge. That this was always the first step in every SIPA. Evaluate the previous knowledge, and from that she could know if she could use everything that she prepared, and what to reinforce, where to start, or what to avoid according to the level of the students.
Got it. So on my end, the institution where I was doing the practices at, they had this, oh, they actually have this software called Kids Brain, which is software for kids to learn maths in English. So that means that not only the whole class was planned in advance, but the fact that they actually working with this acquired software made it a lot easier for the teacher to get involved with the students with the activities that of course they have planned in advance, but with all the material that is already presented to them during these slides. So again, this software makes it a lot easier for the teacher to not only be ready and sharp for the whole class, but also to have a lot of information already acquired and stored, so that by the moment that the class started or at the moment that she started off, everything was already planned. So it's not only a matter of me perceiving her ready or not. It's a matter of true facts that I could notice that the whole thing was already prepared.
Thank you, Renan. So let's go to the second question. What pedagogical skills do you highlight of the English teacher? Well, in my case, the teacher Catalina has a lot of pedagogical skills, but one in particular that caught my eye is how she pays attention to every little detail of the classroom and how she reacts accordingly each and every time. So, taking into account that the classes are performed synchronously and not in person, you can think that classroom management is easier. However, it seems to me that is even more complicated, as teachers must focus on teaching and making sure everyone is attentive, as students tend to turn off their mic and camera. So teacher Catalina scans constantly with her eyes around the session while giving the instruction to verify if students need help or to identify behavioral problems, both inside the classroom and outside in their WhatsApp group chat, without losing the thread of the explanation, which I think is impressive.
Okay, that's nice. Um, I think I would highlight the communicative skills of the teacher, the main teacher I observed, because it is not only about how fluent she is in English, but she's like very natural. I feel like that her ability to pronounce well, to explain well to her ideas, is it's like allowing the students to feel that confidence, and she really transmits that confidence to the students. And it happens to me that when I really know a topic, I feel like I can explain it very well in Spanish. But sometimes when I have to explain it in English, I feel like I'm not so I don't feel so secure about it. And I think that's really important because when we have this like communicative assertive or assertive communicative, um, it is everything because that transmits that confidence. And when we are communicating well with the students, they feel like they can also share what they think. um, they are feeling like they are really supported in the process.
All right, totally agree with that. So on my end, I think that soft skills is something that really goes very easy for Maria Trinidad. She was really good at that. One of the main soft skills that I could say she was definitely great at was empathy. She was really empathetic with all the students. Not the same to work with grown-up people that work with kids, which is really difficult, taking into account the whole technology and the whole online environment when we don't get to get full control of what's actually going on in their homes. But she was really taking advantage of that, meaning that by being so empathetic, not only the kids would feel comfortable with it, but also their parents, which most of them are behind the scenes with the kids, felt that empathetic empathetic towards the whole class. So managing a great amount of soft skills, and adding on top of that um, the um, the the empathetic that she was, I think was the perfect combination for her to distribute a great class in every class at each moment.
Thank you. So let's go to the third question. What were the general attitudes of students towards the English class, their teacher and classmates? Why do you think that happens? So in my case, as I observed different groups of students, all of them reacted in different ways to the instruction. Some of the groups are more participatory than others, as well as their proficiency levels are all different and vary in general. So in general, their attitudes towards learning English were very positive. I cannot observe any student who was reluctant to the explanation or who expressed disagreement. So, in fact, I noticed that they enjoyed learning the language very much, as they were always excited when their participations were granted successful. So I noted that there were no gaps of interaction and communication between the teacher and the student. So the environment in the classroom was most of the time propitious to give an instruction. However, sometimes you could observe, you could see how some students don't get along with each other. Fortunately, none of the students I observed at any point made fun of the language skills of the other students, or when a student made a mistake, no one made fun of them. So I think that was nice to point out.
Okay. Okay, as I told you, I observed different teachers, and in each class there was like a different atmosphere for every one of it. So, in general, I could say that as the sessions or the encounters, they were not compulsory. There were always some intention to be there for the ones that wanted to improve their writing, their speaking, their listening. They had interest in doing those activities in the class, and they could express their expectations when they liked something or when they didn't like it, or when they like found some difficulties with certain topic, what they think, their personal experience towards these topics. And that was pretty important because when everyone was talking, They create these opportunities to help each other in what they had lacks of, and I feel like this forms an atmosphere of collaboration between the students, and even the tutor gets involved in these relationships, like they could really connect in the encounters.
All right. So the students for the teacher that I got with, they show very great attitude towards the whole class. Of course, there are always people, or there were always kids who were distracted, absent-minded, or that were not paying attention. But I noticed that dying had nothing to do with the teacher. I mean, she was great. She was fantastic. So the fact that some of the kids were not paying attention or were not focusing on whatever the explanation was being given to them, that was nothing to do with the teacher, because in overall, I would say 90% of them um, just were grateful with what the teacher was doing. They showed that enthusiasm, that gratefulness towards the person that was teaching them the maths in English.
That was great. That was really, really good. So let's go to the fourth question. Do you consider students learn thanks to the teacher skills? Why or why not? In my case, thanks, thanks to the skills of the teacher, thanks to the skills the teacher has to plan, implement, and evaluate the content she created, I am very sure that the students learned something. This is evident in how many of them express how easy it is to carry out certain activities and exercises after the explanation, and how they actively participate both inside and outside the classroom through other channels of communication with the teacher. However, although it is clear that they acquire some knowledge, many of them are very lazy to put it into practice when carrying out and delivering their activities.
Okay, so I think yes, I agree with that. It's very important because it's not about only just the disciplinary aspects of English, but also like this desire to communicate, to use the language. It's very important for the students to perceive that in the teacher, that the teacher show for the students the importance of using English, and that they can use it in real situations. I mean, sometimes we have to be like really open-minded, not only have a moment for explanation, a moment for practice, a moment for activities, but create every moment as a moment for practice, for practicing, because we could really use real situations in our classes, and that students could use that to improve. They could really improve by that, and that's why I think it's really important that the teacher skills in the classes.
All right. So even like I said, they had this software called Kids Brain, played an important role in their learning process. But yeah, definitely the teacher play an important part on their acquisition of the information that was given to them. So in general, yes, definitely, because of the great soft skills that I mentioned before, she's got also the whole in advance, the activities that she planned in advance also helped her out with that. So that is I think it's a combination of so many things that she has, that one could definitely conclude that she's definitely, if not 50, 60% responsible for the students to learn.
I agree with what Hernan said. So let's go to the fifth question. Would you change anything in the teacher's attitude? What and why? In my case, I would change absolutely nothing of the teacher's attitude. She is very loving and enthusiastic person who treats each and every one of her students, regardless of their behavior, in the same exact way. With her kindness and sense of humor, she creates a trustworthy environment and remains with a good attitude from start to finish of the lesson, something that creates an enabling environment in which the students can participate without the fear of getting their answers wrong because she ensures of bringing out the best of every participation and make sure the students learn. Something particularly impressive of her is that even in serious moments where humor has no place and she must change her tone of voice to express her disagreement with their behavior, at no time she loses her kindness and respect for her students, which I think personally is really impressive.
Okay. Yes, I would say the same for my teacher. Um, she's like really warm. She makes the class warm. Everyone is welcome in the classroom. So I feel like I wouldn't change anything of her attitude, but there was a teacher in the Skype grammar sessions, um, different to Sylvia, and she always asked to turn on the camera. And it was not only the fact that she asked for it, but in general, her voice was always so demanding. And sometimes the students had connection problems, or simply they were not ready to turn on the camera, and that created some like discomfort or like an awkward moment. And and I really think that that wronged the atmosphere of the classroom. So anyway, I noticed that for this teacher that I'm talking about, there were very constant students that attend to her sessions, and apparently they liked that she was this way. So I guess like there's also people that feel like they have to follow something strictly to learn. So I think I would change that, but there will be students that like it.
All right. So in Maria's case, even though she was great and all of that, I think that we all have our own areas of opportunity, right? And that's what we're doing. That's what we're looking for, so that we can get some areas of improvement. So I would say that. So I haven't mentioned the teacher's age. She was around 30 something, so she's in her early 30s. So I guess that patience is something that we don't get to have so easily, right? So sometimes she will look over the top and over I mean on the age when she was trying to make a point. Not only, I mean, it's not that she sounded demanding as Mafe said about her teacher, but it was about that. It was almost as if she was getting mad at one kid not understanding after 5 times that she had explained to him. So it's not that she got mad or anything like that. She started to yell or anything like that. That didn't happen. However, I could notice that when a kid was not understanding the explanation, even if she was to, explaining over and over, then it seems as if she was getting mad, or not mad, but in a annoying or aggravated by the kids attitude or lack of comprehension of the information that she was given to him. So I think that's one of the things that I would definitely give her as a tip, because I could notice that. You can go ahead, Luna.
Yeah, patience is definitely a virtue, and not many people have it. Not all teachers have it, and I think that's really important that we learn to be patient, to be better teachers. Indeed, I think that's really, really, really important. So let's go to the sixth question. In the case that students, let me check if I have my mic on. Yes, I do have my mic on. In the case that students are not very fluent in English, why do you think that happens? Well, in my case, none of the groups I observed were fluent in English. Let's remember that I was observing kids from 10 to 13 years old in sixth grade. I think there are several reasons why this happens. The first is the fact that students do not take their language learning process with the same teacher during their school years. Since in this school there are many groups for the same grade, different teachers are needed. So when students change from one grade to another, although the contents from learning the language are all the same, the accompaniment is different and the methodologies and strategies used by all the teachers are different. The second reason is that the development of each and every one of the four language skills is not encouraged, at least not in the 16 classes I observed, where the teacher Catalina only taught grammar. And the third and final reason is in relation to the attitude of the students, because although they were very participatory within the classroom, they are not very responsible with their activities. This indicates their lack of motivation and interest in their language learning process. Maria Fernanda, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so in the sessions that I observed, there were students that were there according to their level. I told you there were groups for basic, intermediate, advanced. And I think when there is lack of like a good speaking, a good pronunciation, is because we don't create so many or the necessary spaces to practice. I told you we need to be open-minded about that in class. Like even if we are introducing the class, let them introduce themselves to practice their speaking. If we are presenting the objectives of the class, let them share their expectations about the class so they could practice a little more. Even if we're making a close in the class, we could let them share what they think, what they felt about the class. Everything is an opportunity to practice. So we could improve in that in our classes.
Okay, so what I consider was the main factor that was preventing the kids to actually speak English fluently was the fact that they were not being encouraged to study at home, right? I mean, they do study at the school about 2 to 3 hours a day, right? So what about those other 21 hours? I mean, you gotta take off the time they sleep, which is about what, 8 hours. But other than that, they were not encouraged at all to actually um, get deep or to dive into the language or make it a lifestyle so that they could learn. So I think that is one of the main factors that prevent the students or the kids to speak English really fluently.
That's it. That's really, really true. So let's go to the seventh and final question, and that is, sorry, there is a microphone on. Can you please turn that? Turn off that. Yes, thank you. Let's go to the final question. Which skills does the teacher encourage the most in students? Writing, speaking, listening, or reading? Why do you think he or she focuses mostly on that or those particular skills and not in all of them? In my particular case, in the 16 classes I observed, she only encouraged writing skills, and not even writing skills. She only encouraged um, transcript writing from the board to their notebooks. So we must take into account the context in which I observed all these classes, which is a public school where each group receives 1 or 2 classes of English per week, like 2 hours per week, where it is not possible to achieve great progress, especially considering the motivation, attitude, and interest of some students, something I stated before regarding language learning. I think she focuses on teaching only grammar and encouraging writing because it is the easiest way to evaluate them, and because as such, students are not required to be fluent in a language beyond being able to build coherent sentences using the right grammatical structures. Another reason is the way in which students are evaluated, since oral expression, reading comprehension, or listening is not evaluated and not encouraged in classes. The teacher do not create spaces to practice these skills, um, because none of this is practiced in the classroom. It is very difficult to organize this type of activities, and it's also very difficult to evaluate this type of activities. So I think that's one of the main reasons. Let's go to Maria Fernanda.
Yeah, okay. I think Sylvia always cared about adding to the class or the presentation that she prepared for the class. Many activities, like a variety of activities that includes all these skills. You know, if she can add a reading comprehension, a writing production, she always asks questions and she expects them to respond to answer. And I that's why I think the one that she highlighted the most is speaking, because she always is like inviting them to participate, talking with their own experiences. um, if there is someone that cannot open their microphone or something, they can write it in the chat, but it's always like trying to make a conversation with them. So that's why I think that's speaking the most, that she encouraged the students.
Okay, so all right, so based on the way the software was designed, that actually encourages kids by default to concentrate or to put a lot of attention into the grammar, which is translated into the writing skills, because they only work with books. What was being presented to them on the screen was the slides or the pages from the book itself. So they would be looking at the screen and the pages, and they would be doing the homework or the work from the book in front of the screen. So they would do this, they would be writing and looking at the screen, which was pretty much the same, or some images to make it a lot easier. So the software itself, like I said, by default, concentrates more, or it's got the center or the core of that is to increase their level of writing and grammatically speaking. So I think that's the reason why they put in a lot of focus on maths, because if mathematics is something that is not about speaking, right? It's not about listening. It's about getting a knowledge and that knowledge being applied to something. I think that's the reason why, and that's what they did.
Okay, thank you, Hernan. Thank you, Mari. So that was it.
Yeah.
With this, we finish. Anyone has something to say?
Yeah, I really like that we did this to share. I could appreciate your your perspective of what you're watching every time you go to the class or you go into the session with your teachers. And that's really important for us, because we are we are preparing for being teachers too. We hope for that, and that's really important for us. Thank you for sharing your experience, and I'm really grateful for this time.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, huh? You guys have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We were Group 17. We were Maria Fernanda, Hernan Rueda, and Luna Diaz Granados. Thank you for watching and see you next time.
Bye.